Never chase. Never beg. Never explain. Your silence becomes your superpower. Stoicism. There is a version of you that does not chase. A version of you that does not beg. A version of you that does not explain. That version is calm. That version is dangerous. That version is powerful. Most people will never meet that version of themselves because they are too busy chasing. Chasing attention. Chasing validation. Chasing relationships. Chasing approval. Chasing opportunities that were never meant for them. But today, we are going to build something different. Today, we build silence. And in that silence, we build power. If you are ready to stop reacting and start controlling your life, subscribe now and join this journey into Stoic mastery. This channel is for those who choose discipline over drama and strength over noise. Now let's begin. Silence is not weakness. The world has trained you to react. Someone insults you. React. Someone misunderstands you. Explain. Someone pulls away. Chase. Someone doubts you. Prove them wrong. You have been conditioned to respond immediately to everything. But Stoicism teaches something radical. You do not have to respond. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, not for fame, not for applause, but as a reminder to himself, that your mind is yours, your reactions are yours, your peace is yours. And when you understand this, you realize something powerful. Silence is control. When you refuse to react emotionally, you take back authority over your nervous system. When you do not chase, you show abundance. When you do not beg, you show self-respect. When you do not explain unnecessarily, you show certainty. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The calmest usually is. Why people chase? Chasing comes from fear. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of being unseen. Fear of not being chosen. Fear of being forgotten. When someone pulls away, your ego panics. When someone ignores you, your insecurity speaks. When someone doubts you, your pride wants revenge. So you chase. You send another message. You over-apologize. You explain yourself again and again. You lower your standards just to keep someone. But here is the hard truth. Anything that requires you to lose your dignity to keep it, is already lost. Stoicism reminds us that external things are not under our control. Other people's opinions are not under your control. Their choices are not under your control. Their attraction, their loyalty, their understanding, none of it is yours to command. So why exhaust yourself chasing what was never yours to control? The power of not begging. Begging is subtle. It does not always look like kneeling. Sometimes it looks like over-explaining. Sometimes it looks like constant availability. Sometimes it looks like tolerating disrespect because you are afraid to be alone. Begging says, please choose me. Power says, if you don't, someone else will. A Stoic understands value. And value does not beg. When you stop begging for attention, you become selective. When you stop begging for love, you become magnetic. When you stop begging for opportunities, you become focused on building your own. The moment you stop asking for permission to exist fully, your presence changes. People sense it. You walk slower. You speak less. You decide faster. You tolerate less. That is power. Never explain unnecessarily. This may be the hardest lesson, because your ego wants to be understood. You want people to know your intentions. You want them to see your heart. You want them to understand your side. But not everyone deserves an explanation. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you. Explaining yourself to someone determined not to understand you is like pouring water into a broken cup. It will never be enough. Silence, on the other hand, speaks clearly. When you do not defend yourself against lies, you show inner security. When you do not argue every accusation, you show emotional maturity. When you let actions speak instead of words, you build long-term authority. Over time, people trust the consistent, calm person more than the loud defender. Silence is strategy. Silence is not withdrawal. It is strategy. It gives you time to observe, time to think, time to respond intentionally rather than emotionally. When someone provokes you and you remain calm, you win. When someone expects you to chase and you stay still, you win. When someone tries to manipulate you and you do not react, you win. Why? Because you cannot be controlled if you do not react impulsively. Most people are predictable. Insult them, they explode. Ignore them, they panic. Challenge them, they argue. But when you master silence, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people are powerful. The discipline of emotional control. Silence requires discipline. It is easy to shout. It is easy to defend. It is easy to chase. It is hard to sit with discomfort. It is hard to let someone misunderstand you. It is hard to walk away from someone you care about. It is hard to resist sending that message. But every time you resist emotional impulse, you strengthen your mind. Every time you choose dignity over desperation, you evolve. Every time you remain calm under pressure, you build mental armor. And slowly, something changes. You stop fearing loss. Because you realize this: if you lose something by maintaining your standards, you did not lose it. It disqualified itself. If this message is helping you, pause for a moment and subscribe to this channel. We are building a community of disciplined minds who refuse to live in emotional chaos. More deep Stoic lessons are coming, and you don't want to miss them. Now let's go deeper. Detachment creates attraction. There is a paradox in life. The more you chase, the more things run away. The more you cling, the more things slip. The more you try to force, the more resistance you meet. But when you detach, when you are genuinely okay without, everything changes. Detachment is not indifference. It is confidence in your own completeness. You are not chasing because you are already whole. And when you are whole, you become rare. Rare things are not loud. Rare things are not desperate. Rare things are chosen. Good. Now we go deeper. Take a slow breath. Because this is where the transformation begins. How to practice silence daily. Silence is not something you turn on in dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary moments. It is trained. Just like the body is trained in the gym, the mind is trained in stillness. Most people fail at silence because they only try to use it when they are emotional. But when emotions are high, discipline is low. So we build silence when nothing is wrong. Start in conversations. Speak less than you normally would. Listen longer than feels comfortable. Allow pauses. Most people rush to fill silence because silence exposes insecurity. When you are comfortable with silence, you show stability. Next, practice delayed response. When you receive a message that triggers you, do not reply immediately. Wait. Even 5 minutes builds strength. You are teaching your nervous system that it does not control you. Then practice non-reaction. If someone makes a subtle insult, do not defend. Observe. Let them reveal themselves. Calm observation often unsettles people more than argument ever could. You are not suppressing emotion. You are mastering it. The Stoic morning routine for mental dominance. If you want silence to become your superpower, your mornings must belong to you. The first battle of the day is not external, it is internal. Before you check your phone, before you read messages, before you see who texted or who didn't, sit in stillness. Even 5 minutes. Remind yourself, today, people may misunderstand me. Today, someone may doubt me. Today, something may not go my way. And that is fine. Because my peace is not dependent on outcomes. This is premeditation of adversity. When you expect difficulty, you are not shocked by it. And when you are not shocked, you do not react emotionally. Your silence begins in the morning. If your day starts with chaos, reaction follows. If your day starts with control, control continues. Protect your mornings, and your silence will strengthen. Handling disrespect without reacting. One of the greatest tests of silence is disrespect. Someone questions your competence. Someone dismisses your value. Someone talks down to you. Your ego rises. It wants to defend. It wants to assert dominance. It wants the last word. But Stoicism asks, does reacting improve the situation, or does it simply satisfy pride? Most disrespect is bait, and when you react emotionally, you accept the bait. Instead, pause. Look at the person calmly. Often, calm eye contact and no response is more powerful than 10 arguments. Disrespect often comes from insecurity. People project their weakness outward. When you remain composed, you reveal strength. And strength unsettles insecure minds. Over time, people learn something about you. You cannot be provoked easily. And when people realize they cannot control your emotions, they respect you differently. Silence builds authority. Authority is not loud, it is steady. Think about leaders who command rooms without raising their voices. They do not rush words. They do not over-explain decisions. They do not beg for agreement. They speak when necessary. They act consistently. They stand firm. Consistency plus calmness equals authority. If you constantly explain yourself, you signal doubt. If you constantly defend yourself, you signal insecurity. But when you allow your actions to speak over time, people trust you. Authority is built through pattern, not performance. And silence allows patterns to form without interference from emotional reactions. The psychology of emotional control. Your brain is wired for survival, not dignity. When it senses rejection, it interprets threat. When it senses disrespect, it interprets danger. When it senses loss, it triggers panic. Chasing is often just fear disguised as love. Begging is often fear disguised as attachment. Over-explaining is often fear disguised as communication. But you are not your impulses. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is your power. Most people collapse that space. Stimulus, reaction. But a disciplined mind expands that space. Stimulus, pause, observation, choice. That pause is silence. And that silence changes everything. Because now, you are choosing responses instead of being controlled by reflex. The longer the pause, the stronger the mind. Walking away without regret. Walking away is not weakness. It is clarity. You walk away when your standards are not met. You walk away when respect disappears. You walk away when effort is one-sided. And you do it quietly. No dramatic speeches. No long explanations. No emotional outbursts. Just calm distance. People often return when they feel your absence. But that should not be the goal. The goal is self-respect. When you can walk away without anger, without bitterness, without the need for revenge, you have evolved. Because now, your peace matters more than your pride. And your future matters more than your ego. Advanced Stoic Mindset Training. If you truly want silence as a superpower, you must train deeper. Start practicing voluntary discomfort. Cold showers. Hard workouts, difficult tasks. Why? Because when you voluntarily choose discomfort, you increase your tolerance for emotional discomfort. If you can endure physical discomfort calmly, emotional discomfort becomes easier. Then practice negative visualization. Imagine losing what you cling to, not to create fear, but to reduce attachment. When you mentally prepare for loss, you are less desperate to prevent it. Desperation fuels chasing. Preparedness fuels calmness, and calmness fuels power. Finally, practice internal validation. Instead of asking, do they approve? Ask, did I act with integrity? If the answer is yes, nothing else matters. The long-term effect of silence. At first, people may misunderstand your silence. They may call you distant. They may call you cold. They may say you have changed. You have stopped performing. You have stopped reacting for entertainment. You have stopped seeking approval. And over time, something remarkable happens. Your circle becomes smaller, but stronger. Your mind becomes quieter, but sharper. Your presence becomes calmer, but heavier. People feel it when you enter a room, not because you demand attention, but because you do not need it. That is power. Before we continue into the final deep transformation segment, take a moment. If you are serious about mastering this level of discipline, subscribe to this channel right now. This is not surface motivation. This is mental training. More long-form Stoic teachings are coming. Join the disciplined few. Now let us finish strong. Your silence is your superpower. Superpowers are not always visible. Sometimes they look like restraint. Sometimes they look like walking away. Sometimes they look like saying nothing. When you no longer chase, you gain leverage. When you no longer beg, you gain dignity. When you no longer explain unnecessarily, you gain mystery. And mystery commands attention. In a world addicted to noise, silence stands out. In a world addicted to reaction, calmness dominates. In a world addicted to validation, self-assurance intimidates. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, Pause. The next time you feel the urge to beg, breathe. The next time you feel the urge to explain, evaluate. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Or is this my ego speaking? Choose silence when silence preserves dignity. Choose action when action builds growth. But never sacrifice self-respect for temporary validation. Build quietly, improve silently, win privately, and let the results speak loudly. You do not need to announce your growth. You do not need to explain your boundaries. You do not need to chase what is aligned. Stay disciplined. Stay calm. Stay unshaken. And remember this: silence is not empty. It is full of power. If you are ready to live this way, composed, disciplined, unstoppable, subscribe now and continue this journey with us. Your transformation begins the moment you stop chasing, and it accelerates the moment you master silence. Be still, be strong, be stoic. Now we go even deeper, because silence is not just a social strategy, it is an internal revolution. The moment you stop seeking validation, there comes a moment in every disciplined person's life when something shifts. You no longer wake up wondering who noticed you. You no longer check your phone hoping for reassurance. You no longer measure your worth by who responds, who compliments, who approves. That moment is freedom. Most people live inside invisible cages built from other people's opinions. They adjust their personality to be accepted. They soften their standards to be liked. They overextend themselves to avoid rejection. But the Stoic understands something liberating. Other people's approval is rented. Self-respect is owned. And rent can be taken away at any moment. When you stop seeking validation, you become internally stable. You are no longer emotional when someone ignores you. You are no longer shaken when someone criticizes you. You are no longer inflated when someone praises you. You become balanced. And balance is power. Silence in relationships. Relationships test your discipline more than anything else. When someone pulls away, your instinct is to chase. When someone becomes distant, your instinct is to question. When someone becomes cold, your instinct is to warm them with extra effort. But sometimes distance is information, and silence allows you to read it. Instead of chasing, observe. Are they consistent? Are they respectful? Are they investing equally? If not, silence reveals imbalance. You do not confront immediately. You do not accuse. You adjust your energy. You mirror effort. You pull back calmly. And if they step forward, there is interest. If they disappear, there was never depth. Silence protects your dignity, and dignity protects your heart. The strength of emotional independence. Emotional independence does not mean you do not care. It means you are not dependent. You enjoy connection, but you do not require it to feel whole. You value companionship, but you do not fear solitude. When you are comfortable alone, you cannot be manipulated with attention. When you do not fear silence, you cannot be controlled with withdrawal. This is why many people panic in quiet moments, because silence forces them to face themselves. But when you train your mind, silence becomes peaceful. You begin to enjoy your own company. You reflect. You think deeply. You strategize. While others are distracted, you are building. The silent builder. There are two types of people in this world: those who announce every move, and those who move in silence. The loud person seeks applause before achievement. The silent person earns applause after achievement. If you constantly talk about your plans, you release the pressure that would have pushed you to execute. Silence keeps the pressure internal. It sharpens focus. It eliminates distractions. Build in silence. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand. Let them underestimate. Underestimation is an advantage. When people think you are behind, they relax. When people think you are quiet, they assume you are passive. But quiet does not mean inactive. Quiet means calculating. How to control anger through silence. Anger is loud. It demands expression. It demands release. But uncontrolled anger destroys more than it fixes. When you feel anger rising, practice controlled silence. Do not respond immediately. Do not speak from heat. Heat clouds judgment. Instead, breathe slowly. Lengthen the space between feeling and action. Often, anger fades when not fed, and what remains is clarity. Reacting in anger feels powerful in the moment, but restraint creates long-term strength. You may win an argument with anger, but you win life with discipline. The fear of being misunderstood. One of the deepest fears humans carry is being misunderstood. You want people to see your intentions. You want them to understand your heart. But here is a difficult truth. Not everyone is meant to understand you. And that is fine. Trying to make everyone understand you is emotional exhaustion. Instead, focus on being aligned with your principles. If your actions are clean, your conscience is calm, and a calm conscience is stronger than public approval. Some people will misunderstand your silence. Let them. Some people will interpret your calmness as arrogance. Let them. Your job is not to manage perceptions. Your job is to manage character. Silence is confidence. Confidence does not argue endlessly. Confidence does not panic. Confidence does not chase validation. Confidence is relaxed. When you are confident, you do not need to dominate conversations. You do not need to interrupt. You do not need to prove your intelligence. You speak when necessary. You act when required. And you remain still when nothing needs to be said. Stillness communicates certainty, and certainty commands respect. The discipline of saying less. Most people speak to fill space. They overshare. They overpromise. They reveal plans too early. They expose vulnerabilities to the wrong people. But when you say less, you protect your energy. You reveal only what is necessary. You speak with intention. You allow mystery. Mystery increases value, because people respect what is not easily accessed. This does not mean being secretive. It means being selective. Selective with words. Selective with energy. Selective with attention. The silent exit. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is leaving without noise. No dramatic announcement. No long explanation. No emotional performance. Just absence. Absence reveals everything. If someone values you, they notice. If someone does not, you learn the truth. Silence saves you from unnecessary conflict. Because sometimes arguments only feed ego. And ego is expensive. Peace is priceless. Long-term transformation. If you practice this consistently, something changes inside you. You stop reacting to small provocations. You stop chasing inconsistent people. You stop explaining boundaries repeatedly. You become calm in chaos. You become steady under pressure. You become composed when tested. And that composure becomes your identity. People begin to describe you differently. Grounded, focused, unbothered, strong. But they do not see the training behind it. They do not see the restraint. They do not see the internal battles you won silently. That is the nature of true strength. It is built in private, and revealed in public. As we continue this journey deeper into Stoic mastery, remember this: you are not becoming cold. You are becoming controlled. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming disciplined. You are not becoming emotionless. You are becoming emotionally intelligent. If this level of growth resonates with you, subscribe now and continue building this mindset with us. This is long-term mental strength training. Now take a breath, because the next level is about identity. And identity is where silence becomes permanent power. Now we move into identity. Because temporary silence is a tactic, but permanent silence, controlled, intentional silence, becomes who you are. And when it becomes who you are, your life changes at the root. Silence is identity. At first, you practice silence. You pause before reacting. You resist sending that message. You hold back the unnecessary explanation. It feels forced. It feels unnatural, because your old identity was reactive. But repetition builds identity. Every time you choose restraint over impulse, you are casting a vote for a new version of yourself, a calmer version, a stronger version, a rarer version. Eventually, silence is no longer something you try to do. It becomes automatic. You no longer feel the urge to chase. You no longer feel the need to defend every misunderstanding. You no longer panic when someone withdraws. Because your identity has shifted from validation seeker to self-governed. And self-governed people are unshakable. The self-governed mind. Most people are governed externally. Their mood depends on messages. Their confidence depends on compliments. Their peace depends on outcomes. But a Stoic trains internal governance. Your mood depends on your discipline. Your confidence depends on your integrity. Your peace depends on your perspective. When you govern yourself internally, external chaos loses power over you. Someone cancels plans. You remain steady. Someone criticizes your work. You evaluate calmly. Someone ignores you. You continue building. This is not indifference. It is emotional sovereignty. And sovereignty is freedom. The energy shift. When you stop chasing, something subtle happens. Your energy shifts. You move slower. You speak more deliberately. You observe more than you reveal. People notice it. They may not understand it, but they feel it. Desperation repels. Stability attracts. When you are no longer seeking attention, attention often seeks you. When you are no longer proving yourself, your results speak louder. When you are no longer explaining your value, your presence communicates it. Energy speaks before words do, and calm energy is magnetic. Silence and power in social settings. Walk into any room. Notice who talks the most. Notice who interrupts. Notice who laughs the loudest. Then notice who sits calmly, observing. Often, the one who speaks least is studied most, because silence creates intrigue. When you speak rarely, your words carry weight. When you speak constantly, your words lose value. This is why disciplined leaders choose words carefully. They understand that overtalking weakens authority. So practice this. In your next conversation, speak with intention. Pause before responding. Let silence breathe. You will notice something surprising. People lean in. They listen more closely. Because silence demands attention. Silence in conflict. Conflict reveals character. When accused unfairly, can you remain composed? When misunderstood publicly, can you resist the urge to defend instantly? This is advanced discipline. Sometimes, silence is stronger than explanation, because reacting emotionally confirms instability, while calm restraint communicates confidence. There will be times when clarification is necessary. Stoicism does not teach passivity. It teaches precision. Speak when it serves truth. Stay silent when it serves ego. Know the difference. That awareness is maturity. The power of delayed gratification. Chasing is often impatience. You want reassurance now. You want clarity now. You want resolution now. But patience builds leverage. When you delay reaction, you gather information. When you delay response, you regain control. When you delay gratification, you strengthen willpower. Silence stretches your tolerance. And tolerance builds mental endurance. Mental endurance builds resilience. Resilience builds greatness. Becoming comfortable with solitude. Many people chase because they fear being alone. They fill silence with noise. They fill space with conversation. They fill emptiness with distractions. But solitude is training ground. In solitude, you confront your insecurities. In solitude, you clarify your goals. In solitude, you sharpen your focus. If you cannot sit quietly alone for 30 minutes without distraction, your mind is not yet disciplined. Practice this. Sit without your phone. No music. No stimulation. Just your thoughts. At first, discomfort rises. But stay. Because on the other side of discomfort is clarity, and clarity fuels confidence, silence and self-respect. Every time you refuse to beg for attention, you increase self-respect. Every time you refuse to chase someone inconsistent, you increase self-worth. Every time you refuse to over-explain your boundaries, you strengthen identity. Self-respect compounds. Just like money, small disciplined actions accumulate, and eventually, you look back and realize, you no longer tolerate what once drained you. You no longer entertain what once distracted you. You no longer pursue what once diminished you. That is evolution. The calm advantage. When everyone else is emotional, your calmness becomes an advantage. In arguments, you think clearly. In stress, you act strategically. In pressure, you remain steady. Calm people make better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. Better outcomes create confidence. Confidence reinforces calmness. This is the cycle of silent power. Meanwhile, reactive people stay trapped in chaos. They burn bridges. They regret words. They chase apologies. You do not, because you paused. Because you chose silence. Because you mastered yourself. If you are still listening, You are part of a rare group. Most people cannot sit through deep discipline training. They want quick motivation. But you are building something permanent. If you are committed to this level of growth, subscribe now. This channel is your training ground for mental dominance, stoic strength, and emotional mastery. Now we move into the final deep layer, legacy. Because silence is not just about today, it is about who you become long term. Silence and legacy. In the end, people will not remember how loudly you argued. They will not remember how many debates you won. They will remember your composure, your consistency, your presence. Legacy is built through controlled actions over time, not emotional reactions in moments. When you live silently disciplined, your reputation grows quietly. People trust you. People rely on you. People respect you, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. And that is the highest level of power. Final integration. So remember this. Never chase what requires desperation. Never beg for what should be given freely. Never explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Build yourself. Strengthen your mind. Control your reactions. Guard your dignity. Let silence protect your energy. Let silence sharpen your perception. Let silence elevate your presence. In a world addicted to noise, your calm is rebellion. In a world addicted to validation, your self-assurance is intimidating. In a world addicted to reaction, your restraint is dominance. Master silence, and you master yourself. Master yourself, and you master your life. Stay disciplined. Stay focused. Stay unshaken. And remember, your silence is not empty. It is full of power.